when you talk about attribution, you should always be trying to think, well, what is the value or the business goals that I'm trying to reattribute credit to certain publishers? So the reattribution that we do, for instance, within Havas is, for direct response campaigns where the goal might be to deliver someone to a website or to get them to take out a quote or to get them to buy something, that is vastly different to a brand campaign where it might be about reach and frequency. And that reflects back to how you plan and buy the campaign, but also reflects back to the weighting that goes in towards that attribution. So, attribution, to state something quite obvious, isn't a one-size-fits-all. It's actually something that's quite dynamic. In the same way that real-time bidding, the value that you give to that individual impression, if you're going for a branding campaign, it's going to be very different to a direct response campaign.
I'd say, why are always people saying that this is so unique to you? So ad trading is so unique. You have a strategy for this brand, for this company. Attribution, we have a strategy. The great thing about advertising is that it's fairly generic, right?
I think
you want to shift people's opinions about something, an idea, play something, or you want them to buy stuff. I'd say that's fairly straightforward.
No, but there's one thing that's missing within the real-time space. So basically, within offline, you can buy a bunch of media and you can try to reach so many GRPs and so forth. So it's a kind of broad brush to try and reach a certain audience. The difference with real time is that if you basically have a data management platform, a good bidding and a good DSP, you can actually identify that particular audience at that particular time. So you can decide within that 20 to 30 milliseconds whether you want to buy that impression or buy that person, and that's the difference.
I'd say that it's what we call premature optimization, in the sense that...
Premature optimization, okay.
So how many in technology know what I mean? So, but seriously, I totally get that this is a paradigm shift with how you plan stuff and how you execute buys and value stuff, but I still think that there is a fundamental the fundamental issue of online advertising basically sucking so hard that it's embarrassing to say that you're working with it. Seriously, someone has to say it.
Gustav, if you take the creative point though, I know we talked beforehand about the actually kind of how do you optimize creative. Well, if I'm a different audience to you, okay, and we have an advertiser or an agency trading desk that is trying to reach both of us, they can optimize that creative dynamically and decide within the real-time bidding what to serve us. So
that's theoretically, I get it. We've done that, and I think that from a technology perspective, it's mind-blowing what the guys at Netezza have been doing for the last couple of years. But from a larger perspective, I think the problem is that even if you paid like a 150 euro CPM, you still wouldn't get any impact. Nothing would happen. It's a value problem, not like a matching problem that people seem to perceive it to be.
Okay, so sorry, Brad, you were going to say.
But don't you think that better measurement is part of the solution? So assuming that I agree that advertising sucks.
I don't say that advertising, I say online advertising sucks.
Online advertising, okay.
Online advertising sucks. Doesn't measurement help fix that problem?
Evolutionary, yes, in the sense that if we go by the idea that attribution will reallocate stuff, sooner or later, publishers got to figure out, okay, we're not getting any money, so we need to change stuff. Problem is that from their perspective, what can we change? They know nothing about their inventory, nothing about their placements. For instance, if you ask a publisher, how do you think that ad load, in the sense that percentage of a page that is ads, impacts user retention? Fundamental question, I'd say, if you're a print or TV. No one knows. So even if they get a signal that we need to change stuff, they still wouldn't know what to do. So there's a bottleneck downstream that we're not recognizing.
Oh, guys, you come from the offline world and the online world. Let's have some rebust about it.
It's a fair point. I think we have gone to the point where we optimize with what we have at the moment and not really taking that step back to, the creative attribution. I guess the measurement side, even if there's a tiny proportion which is working, surely by measuring and finding that tiny proportion we can learn from that would be the only way we can get around this. Surely if there's 0.5% of your media works, away from the 50% of my media works, maybe it's only 0.5% of my online media works. So we can find that 0.5 and attribute a fair value to that.
No, I recognize that it's part of the solution, but I don't think that it'll happen as quickly as people think. Like, it's going to take 20 years for evolution to catch up with that methodology.
I think it's already happening,
Yes, thank
to
you.
be honest with you. I mean, attribution is not just about the quantity of conversions that come through in a campaign. It's about the quantity of revenue as well.
Yep.
It's about working out what customers and what segments that you try to target become more profitable. It's aligning those campaign results against the business objectives and the KPIs of your business, or sorry, of your advertiser. So it's actually trying to work out, you know, did the FT or the Guardian give me a better quality of a customer over time against a specific network? Okay, it's trying to do those business fundamentals, and you know that's the way the media should work, like any offline channel.
Okay, so let's take it away from theory a sec. You all work in companies where you have good clients. Give us some examples of how the world has changed. You know, I don't particularly agree that online advertising sucks, by the way, but
Ask your wife, ask anyone. So what do you think about when you open a web page? Does this shit work? Seriously.
I think it definitely works.
I mean, I have a vested interest. It's not as if I go into client meetings saying that, you know, this, yeah, I do. But I think that there's a room for companies that say, you know, we're going to reset this shit. We're gonna win back online advertising impression by impression. I think there's definitely room for it. I'm just saying that we don't have that discussion. We're sort of we always, so we were at a conference once, and the guy that founded Netscape told me that, you know, you can just quit technology altogether in advertising because advertisers are so backwards. They're so traditional. And I'd say no. I think they're smart. I think that it's sort of the allocation of budgets currently reflect value. That's just my point.
Any top 3 tips from you, Gustav, about if you're a brand new online marketer and you probably think online marketing sucks, so how to approach that?
Yeah, that's going to live with me for quite some time. So I think that a lot of marketers would benefit from paying attention to channel execution. So instead of painting with such a broad brush, I'd sort of, as I said, win it placement by placement, impression by impression. And there's been so many studies published on the importance of a great creative on performance or a great user experience on sort of placement value that I still can't grasp why that doesn't seem to sort of trickle its way into campaign planning, and it's sort of like a non-issue. I'd say that a lot of our good customers, not all, are using like real-time bidding and display as a testing ground. So you get more agile in terms of how does ideas respond. And for me, that's one of the great promises of using like demographic information, is that you can actually test different messages on different people. So my suggestion is do something amazing and it'll work. That seems to be the case in terms of social networks, phones, or whatever. I just can't see why we're not trying to do the same with advertising.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sam?
Yeah, I think actually part of this is that there's certain things online which are easy to measure, and we fall into the trap of just measuring what's easy and not measuring what we should actually be measuring, which is, does this piece of display advertising cause a change in someone's perceptions or actions? Does it actually have an impact on a person? Which I think is the key metric. So, have they actually, number one, it's not to be served, have they noticed it? Have they then changed their perception of a brand or done something on the basis of it? These are much harder kind of things to actually
But
analyze.
there is one thing that you could sort of start much earlier and say, is it even possible for this to have any kind of impact on a person? And when you look at where your ad's being placed, it's like, no, not really. So
I mean, that's an assumption, I guess, but
it's a fair one.
the data's there to prove it either way. So I would guess,
Yeah.
without trying it, you never know.
Yeah.
But
Any top tips, Ciaran?
Just, I know this sounds kind of slightly patronizing, but start off really simple. If you're not doing attribution at the moment, or you're not using an ad server, basically approach your agency, get a platform so that you can measure every single digital touch point that you want to. And basically start off with your existing reporting, which is probably going to be last ad wins. Last ad wins is about 4 or 5% of all of your consumer engagement. So that's what you're using at the moment. That's what the industry is using at the moment. So anything that moves away from that, which starts off with a simple attribution algorithm, is bound to be better. Is bound to be better. I mean, otherwise we're just relying on this. The last impression we decides our business, which is crazy.
Brad, I'd be interested in your view, given that you're not from the agency world.
Sure. So I've got 3 suggestions. The first is that there's no substitute for hiring world-class talent. Hire the best data scientists, engineers, PhD statisticians that you can find. Those are the people that are qualified to solve these problems. The second suggestion is echoing Ciaran's point, which is that you can take a stepwise approach, a phased approach to implementing an attribution analysis solution. Start with one channel, add a second channel later, things like that. And then the third suggestion is don't underestimate the value of simply reducing data latency and applying your algorithms to larger data sets. We have many, many examples of customers who have taken their existing algorithms and simply by jamming much larger volumes of data through those algorithms and running the algorithms much more quickly, they have dramatic increases in campaign response rates and conversions simply because of the increased accuracy that leads to.
Sounds very useful.
One last addition. I think that you have to separate. So if you're a direct, like a hardcore direct marketer in